when 72-year-old Grace stood shivering outside the billionaire's gate with her grandson. She never imagined her plea for shelter would uncover his deepest secret and rewrite both their futures. The wind howled like a grieving mother as 72-year-old Grace huddled under the bus stop. Her grandson Elijah pressed close. Rain lashed the broken shelter sideways, soaking the eviction notice still clutched in her wrinkled hand. Across the street, the nursing home lights blinked off one by one. She'd promised Elijah they'd visit Mom and Nneka today. Now they couldn't even afford the bus fare. Go, I'm cold," Elijah whispered, his asthma wheeze worse in the damp. Grace tightened her threadbare shawl around them both. Her pension check was late again. The landlord hadn't cared. Across the neighborhood, a single estate glowed like a beacon, the Mbeki compound. Surrounded by iron gates and security cameras, Grace had heard stories about the reclusive tech billionaire who owned it. "They say he fires servants for looking him in the eye," her neighbor warned. But the rain turned icy and Elijah's breathing grew labored. Grace made a decision. She stepped into the storm, guided only by the mansion's golden windows. At the gate, she pressed the intercom with shaking hands. "Please," she rasped, rainwater dripping from her gray braids. "My grandson. He needs—" The speaker crackled. No reply. Elijah coughed violently against her hip. Grace leaned her forehead against the cold metal bars. Then a miracle. The gates creaked open. A black Bentley rolled toward them, stopping inches from Grace's sodden shoes. The tinted window lowered, revealing a man in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and eyes that held entire universes of sorrow. "You're standing in my driveway," he said, voice deep as distant thunder. Grace met his gaze without flinching. "And you're blocking my view of two drowning rats," Mr. Mbeki finished quietly. He opened the car door. "Get in before the boy catches pneumonia." The Bentley's heated seats felt like heaven against Grace's aching bones. Elijah sneezed against her shoulder, his small frame shaking. Mr. Mbeki didn't speak as they drove up the winding driveway, past gardens where fountains danced despite the storm. The mansion doors opened automatically, revealing a marble foyer warmer than any church. A housekeeper appeared instantly with thick towels and a steaming mug of rooibos tea. "For the child," she murmured. Grace hesitated, clutching Elijah closer. "You'll want to dry him before the wheezing worsens, Mr. Mbeki said, already walking away. His shoes clicked sharply against the floor. "Second door on the left has oxygen." Grace's eyes widened. "You keep medical equipment?" He paused at the staircase. "I keep many things." The guest room glowed with soft lamplight. A twin bed with flannel sheets sat beside a child's cot piled with stuffed animals. Most astonishing, the portable nebulizer on the nightstand, still in its packaging. Grace set up the treatment with trembling hands. Elijah's breathing eased almost immediately. When a knock came, Grace expected the housekeeper. Instead, Mr. Mbeki stood holding a photograph of a boy about Elijah's age, grinning in a hospital gown. "His name was Jabari," he said, voice rough. "Leukemia took him 5 years ago." Grace's throat tightened. She glanced at the unused toys. "You were preparing for him." Mr. Mbeki set the frame on the dresser. "I prepare for many possibilities. Rest. We'll speak tomorrow." But as he turned to leave, Grace saw it, the way his shoulders curved inward, like a man carrying all the world's grief. Grace woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains. For a blissful moment, she forgot where she was until she saw Elijah sleeping peacefully, his breathing normal for the first time in weeks. The grandfather clock in the hall chimed 7 a.m. She dressed quietly in clothes left out for her, soft cotton with delicate embroidery at the collar. Downstairs, she found Mr. Mbeki in a sunlit conservatory, staring at a chessboard frozen mid-game. "You play?" he asked without looking up. "My husband taught me," Grace said, running her finger along the edge of the jacaranda woodboard. Before the stroke took him, Mr. Mbeki moved upon. "Make yourself useful then." Black's turn. They played in silence until Grace captured his knight. "You're holding back," she accused. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Observant. The game changed then, pieces flying across the board like the rain had flown the night before. When Grace finally checkmated him, Mr. Mbeki leaned back. "Come, I'll show you why I really opened those gates." He led her to a locked wing of the mansion. The door opened to a shock, not gold or art, but shelves upon shelves of handmade toys. "Every month, these go to children's hospitals," he said softly. "Jabari's toys, the foundation calls it." Grace picked up a wooden giraffe, its grooves worn smooth from love. "The newspapers never mention this." "By design," Mr. Mbeki said. "Kindness observed becomes performance." He hesitated. "But I'm considering changes. Would you like to see the workshop?" The workshop revealed a side of Mr. Mbeki Grace never expected. Sawdust covered the floor and half-carved animals lined the workbenches. "You make these yourself?" Grace asked, amazed. He picked up a chisel. "Every one. My father was a carpenter in Soweto. This," he gestured to the mansion outside, "was supposed to be our victory." His voice hardened. Then came the investors, the board meetings, the compromises. Grace studied a partially carved lion. "You lost more than money." Mr. Mbeki's hand stilled. "When Jabari got sick, the board voted down my medical leave. The company comes first," they said. He drove the chisel deep into the wood. I resigned that afternoon, sold everything but this house. Grace touched a photo on the wall, a younger Mbeki smiling beside a handsome man. Your husband, he nodded. Cancer took them but 2 years before Jabari. The papers called me a recluse. Really, I was just tired. Suddenly, Elijah's laughter echoed down the hall as he played with the housekeeper. Mr. Mbeki's eyes softened. You remind me of my mother. She raised me alone after the mines took my father. Grace smiled sadly. We grandmothers stick together. He turned to her abruptly. I want to reopen the children's wing, with you as manager. Grace nearly dropped the lion. Me? I'm just a retired teacher. Exactly, Mbeki said. You understand what matters. Outside. The storm had passed. Sunlight glinted off a new sign being hung Jabari and Themba Memorial House. 1 year later, Grace stood on the mansion's newly painted porch watching Elijah chase butterflies with other children from the shelter. The one quiet estate now buzzed with laughter, single mothers in the vocational program, elders sharing stories on the veranda, volunteers planting sunflowers where the security fence once stood. Mr. Mbeki, call me Sefo, he'd insisted months ago, joined her with 2 glasses of ginger beer. Admit it, he teased. You thought I was a heartless tycoon. Grace chuckled. And you thought I'd refuse your offer. Inside, the grand hall had become a community center, where priceless art once hung. Children's drawings now bloomed in crayon. Sifo's workshop had tripled in size, employing local artisans. That evening, as the sunset turned the sky gold, Grace found Elijah reading to Sefo from her late husband's Bible. The gruff billionaire's eyes shone as the boy sounded out the words. Grandma, Elijah called. Uncle Sefo says I can help make toys tomorrow. Grace met Sefo's gaze over her grandson's head. No words were needed. The mansion's gate stayed open now, day and night, not to keep the world out, but to welcome in anyone needing shelter from life's storms. As fireflies began their dance, Grace realized this wasn't an ending, but a beginning. Somewhere, she knew Mama Neka was smiling. The end. Don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming tales.